3. And we are now live again. Welcome back to your yearly appearance, Dr. Raj, man. What's going on?
Not much, man. Just chilling in some quarantine. How are you doing?
Man, just busier than usual. So we're just gonna jump right into it because we got a lot to talk about. And let me tell you, the Couch Fam's really excited to hear what you got to say. I've been pumping you all day. So
Appreciate it.
Todd Gurley, I got this article up right here. Todd Gurley's trainer confirms there's arthritic components to his knee. I told people, look, don't draft Todd Gurley last year. Top 11's too early. Now he's being very intriguing to me. I'm thinking of taking him late round 2, early round 3. What are your thoughts on Todd Gurley?
Well, if you remember, I said the same thing to you. I mean, he's going to be on a rep count, right? And so the question now becomes, I mean, I think it's really intriguing around that round two, round three spot because the value is there and he's in a new system where they might just use him a lot. And, and it's kind of like he's trying to prove himself again, right? So I think it's an intriguing spot for him, far better value than last year. The thing about the knee, though, that thing can act up at any time, and once it does, it's hard to kind of get back into that same playing shape. Like what happened with him in the playoffs? What was that? 2 years ago now?
Yeah, when they lost in the Super Bowl and um,
CJ
CJ Anderson
Anderson.
took over. Yeah.
Yeah, and they tried to lie and say, "Oh, he's fine. We're just not using him." Like, come on. All right, but fine. Yeah. So the question is, I mean, I think especially early on, he's gonna have a little more a little more production, is my guess. The question always becomes, can he maintain it as the year goes on?
I got you. Now they don't have much depth there, and he's on a 1 year contract. Do you think they? And he's on the Falcons, who might not make the playoffs. Do you think they really care about that?
That's kind of what I was getting at. Is like he kind of has to reprove himself. I mean, I think they're gonna grind him out. The problem is at some point, if they're using him a lot early and that knee flares up, like it gets swollen, it gets real stiff to the point where sometimes you just can't do anything.
All
So
right.
it's that risk reward, man. It's that risk reward.
So we took him like at 2.09. You're saying that's too early.
Whew,
The 12 team.
yeah, yeah. Man, I mean, if he drops like mid two, to me it's mid two to late two.
Oh, that's where we took him. So we took him late round 2.
Late two, sorry, my bad. You're right. That's where I kind of I would go. Now, if he's there early three, I think you have to take him.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's good. I like that. By the way, guys, Dr. Rush plays fantasy, so no, that's a good relief because people saying mid 3 was cool, but a little earlier is worrisome. So I like where we took him at 2.09, and we got our guy at the turn right there. So not a big deal. Now this one is not a sexy topic, not a big topic, but to us it is. And around roughly week 8, Cooper Kupp tore his ACL 2018. Around the same time, undrafted wide receiver Preston Williams, big body guy for the Dolphins, who really showed out in preseason, started showing out a little bit. I think Josh Rosen threw him some passes, and he still looked
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
And he tore his ACL around the same time. So I'm hearing that Cooper Kupp's performance and is an outlier. But what are your thoughts? Is that true, or what do you think about Preston Williams and Kupp?
It is true. Cup came back pretty quick and came back and he performed at a high level. I think he was also helped by the fact that he knew that offense and he had that good chemistry with Goff. Whereas with Preston, right, he hasn't really played as much in that system. And so physically, let's say he is an outlier, right, and he comes back, even then he won't be that familiar with the system because he missed out on the whole year. And so that's going to set him back. But in general, I always look for a guy the second year after the ACL is to me when they're really back to themselves.
Got you. And that it does it matter like the position, or is that like running backs, wide receivers, or just in general, athletes in general, or
I mean, typically athletes in general, but of course, when you have more dynamic cutting positions like corners, wideouts, running backs, it puts some more stress on that knee. So that's when you're really looking at that how much demand is going through their body.
and that's because they're cutting, right?
Yeah, exactly. A lot
Yes.
of cutting, a lot of spontaneous cutting. Running back, I mean, running back, you're getting hit a lot too, which obviously puts you at risk. Wideout, you get hit as well, but it's not as much.
Yeah, I guess wide out and even tight end. Well, tight ends have to block, but wide out sometimes have those rare occasion big collisions, or they get swept under their feet. As far as running backs take
Yeah,
the consistent pounding, I guess is just
yeah.
different.
Sad Todd Gurley.
You scared me with this Todd Gurley stuff, man. But he's growing up. I think he'll be good because the Rams, their O line completely fell off last year.
That's true.
And the
That's true.
Falcons, look, they were terrible, but they had a couple offensive linemen hurt. They've been drafting a couple more offensive linemen. So I think I'm projecting their Falcons O line to be slightly above average. And I think that's good enough for Gurley. Hopefully his knee can hold more than 10, 13 games from what you're saying. Hopefully that's the case. And that's going to be enough for us to get into playoffs and hopefully do some things. Now, we've been charting a lot of injuries, Dr. Raj. And we charted every injury from every, like, player that's possible to draft in fantasy. So like the top 32 quarterbacks, top 60 running
Hmm.
backs, top 60 wide receivers. And it's pretty clear that quarterbacks are about 40% likely to get injured and miss at least one game. And all the other positions were 50%, one full game or more, and about 25% to miss 4+ games more. It took us like 2 weeks and
Interesting.
we charted all that data. And while we were charting that, some teams and some positions just seem very, like, just totally, like the Browns never had a running back get injured the past several years.
Uh-huh.
But the Seahawks have a ton of running backs getting injured. And, Penny, Chris Carson, I'm
Oh,
sure another one even got hurt last year, so they had to bring in Lynch. And
yep.
I think Chris Carson, what's your favorite team, by the way?
Eagles.
Eagle. Okay,
Brooklyn Eagles.
okay, that's what I
Brooklyn Eagles.
remember. Okay, so Seahawks have got a lot of players injured, and man, I think Chris Carson's one of the toughest runners in the league, along with Mostert. I guess when we're not talking about one of the top names, and his running style, I guess, is a little bit of a concern. And what are your thoughts with him? I think it's we're talking about a hip injury with Carson, and he's slated to return week 1, but not anywhere near a guarantee.
Yeah, hip injuries are always, man, they're touch and go just because, well, for one, so the hip is the strongest joint in your body. So when it gets injured, it's like it takes a little longer to recover from. And it's also anytime you move your leg, you're always going to put a lot of weight through your hip or when you move, right? And then you add in, like you said, his running style, which is, he's a pretty, to say, a vicious runner. And so that's always, I have to wait. I honestly, that's one where I have to wait and see how he's doing later into the summer.
I love Carson as a runner, and I love how the Seahawks, that running game kind of clicked. I don't know, like started clicking 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But, he's going anywhere from early round 3 to late round 3, sometimes falling to round 4. I'd say that's fully factored into that, because he's a top 10 running back in my
Oh,
eyes.
for
I'd say
sure.
that's factored in when you can get him at like late round 3. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you're doing drafts right now, that's definitely factored in. I think and if you start to hear positive news, and if they're saying he's going to be clear for week 1 by the time training camp rolls around, right? He's for sure going to be top 10, top 15. So he could be great value right now. Just depends
Gotcha.
on how much risk you're willing to take.
By the way, you're saying like you're crazy enough to draft right now. He's dude, we are crazy enough
Oh,
to
I'm sure. I'm
draft. I
sure.
mean, it's not the time to do your top money league right now. That's crazy.
Of
But
course.
we're doing a bunch of specialty leagues, and
Yep,
we're
yep.
crazy. This is what we do. So we've already done a couple drafts and some best ball drafts, and we just did a best ball draft where Chris Carson went. It's mid round 4, and I'm like, oh my god, I wish I could. I wish I could get him. That would have been so good. I love Carson. And just to kind of in general here, Eagles are a really good team, but injuries could be one of the most concerns with this team out of any team in the entire league. I mean, we want to talk about Deshaun Jackson, and there's Alshon and Carson Wentz, who was healthy last year, but offensive guard Brandon Brooks, who's a big part of that line, and I'm more worried about Wentz than I am with how it affects Miles Sanders. So, like, I mean, and this is your team too, so I assume you follow it pretty closely. Like,
I do.
let me know what's going on. Like, let me know what's up.
Yeah, so with Deshaun, it was like an abdominal injury. It happened early on. That's so hard to heal during the season. Like, so for example, like with Odell, right? He had some abdominal stuff going on. It's hard to really heal during the season. He should be good to go. Alshon was dealing with a bunch of different things as well. And so I think they're both going to be healthy and ready to go. The biggest question is, of course, Brandon Brooks. I mean, he's out for the year with a double Achilles rupture. And so, but if you watch our games, even after he went out last year, the O line held up pretty well. The main guy on that line I look at, and this happens every year, if he gets hurt, is Lane Johnson. If he stays healthy, Wentz is well protected. He's the key on that line. And then we'll also see how Jason Peters comes along. It's going to be interesting to see with the Wentz if he does have the options that if he has Deshaun and Alshon healthy, it helps him stay healthy because then he doesn't have to be as doesn't have to hold on to the ball as long, right? He can get that ball out, especially Alshon providing that underneath option. And so, to me, it's all part and parcel of each other. If he has his receivers healthy and Lane Johnson healthy, he's going to be fine.
Alshon has no timetable.
Yeah.
He's got the really bad injury. Is it Liz Frank? I think.
Lisfranc injury. There's always no timetable on that, but he's had a considerable amount of time to heal. That's one that's always touch and go, so they don't tend to put a timetable on it. Remember how Cam was last year as well, where it was like you kind of want to see how it goes.
Yeah.
If it doesn't respond to treatment, and then you can be ruled out, right? So my assumption is, from what I was reading about Alshon, though, that they still expect him to be ready to go.
Got you, because he got hurt fairly early in the season.
The whole damn team did.
By the way, Jalen Reagor, I like him. I know your thoughts on him. So, you know how people get emotional and react during draft day because the Eagles did not get the sexy best wide receiver. But Reagor is basically Deshaun Jackson, and I think he'll, next year or, if Deshaun Jackson doesn't stay healthy this year, can easily replace that role. He's a speedster. It's a good draft pick and a great fit for Wentz to throw to. I don't know what you guys did in round 2. It's up for debate with drafting the next Taysom Hill or whatever. People are saying he's the next Taysom Hill just so it doesn't sound like a bad draft pick. I don't know what's up with that, but I do like Reagor.
No, I like Reagor too. He fits the system really, really well, right? So the way Peterson runs, he loves to run those stretch routes. So it's all about spacing, and that's what we need. And we really didn't have anyone who can get off the ball quickly. And so, and the other aspect that helps Reagor, he has Deshaun there teaching him. So I've been following these guys. They're already working out together. And so now you can interchange them.
Yeah.
Now, if Alshon's healthy and he's taking some of that coverage underneath, now you're going to have one-on-ones on the outside for these guys.
Yeah, this teacher thing is real, too, because we had even Emmanuel Sanders taught Deebo Samuel how to play a little bit on the Niners, and Deebo was doing, almost nothing the first half, and then he was one of the better wide receivers in the league the second half. And, yeah, what better teacher than Deshaun Jackson's kind of a guy who's, I don't know, kind of, like people kind of hate him, people kind of like him. He's made
Yeah.
those bonehead, like the fumble thing early in his career when he was on the Eagles. But dude's a really good player and a legit deep threat. And he ran a 4.3. I just feel like he's always got hate since the beginning, since he was young. But he's a really good player, and he balled out pretty much any situation he was in. Even on Washington, if they didn't double him, he was balling out.
He's a beast, man. I went to school with him too at Cal. So.
Oh yeah, awesome. That's awesome.
Aaron, and Marshawn.
Oh man, that's great.
No, but I mean, to your point, anywhere he's gone, he's produced when he's healthy.
Yeah. Do you know about this situation here? Because I don't know what to think with the Browns that were supposed to go to the Super Bowl last year, and then this year I don't know what the hell's going on. Odell was playing with an injury, from reports say, a lot of last year. Jarvis is very likely to miss the beginning of the season. Like, what are your thoughts with this Browns team and the receiving core?
Yeah, man. Like, I think the one thing with Odell, we just don't have much transparency on it. I mean, he was clearly not himself, right? He was not moving the same way that he moves, and so he was limited. I mean, I know he was having some abdominal, I think it was core surgery, right?
Yeah, and he had sports hernia, which I don't know if those two are this similar.
So my guess is that they are. What happens typically, like with a sports hernia, essentially you have a muscle poking out through a part of your stomach, and so it's just really painful, and they repair it. So it's considered part of your core. That's my guess. Again, NFL is they're not the best in terms of releasing information details on injuries, but that's going to affect everything that you do, like we just talked about earlier with the hip. The core is the same way. That's going to affect, especially as a wideout, right? Like, especially a guy like Odell, who definitely relies on that athleticism. He relies on his ability to kind of twist in that catch radius, right? He's making those incredible catches. That's going to impact his style of play, definitely. Jarvis, the hip labrum one, other than Tua, is actually what concerns me the most, because with the hip labrum, you're talking about the integrity of the hip joint. It can definitely take a while to come back from.
Well, I don't think if you said it, sorry, but so Odell, I get last year how it affected him. I completely agree that, but is that something that like re-injury or can linger? Because now I'm seeing he's healthy now. That's what they're saying.
Typically, if you get surgery, no, sorry, I didn't say anything. I went on to Jarvis. Typically, if you get surgery, and you will recover pretty well from that. And there's a pretty good recovery rate. The hardest part is doing it in season, which is he was trying to do that last year.
Yeah, and he just played through it.
I believe so. Like I said, I tried to find information on this all year. I couldn't really parse it out well.
Yeah, well, if you get surgery, you're probably going to miss time, right? So I don't think he missed any time.
I don't think he got surgery. Did he get surgery in the middle of the season, though?
I'm looking it up. So sports hernia, he's free and clear following surgery. I think he got the surgery after the season. Sports hernia surgery. Positive. So, and it says May 4th, Odell Beckham, sports hernia, posted a video showcasing a full body workout. And that was May 4th. So it seems like he's, and like what you're saying, he's 100% healthy now.
Yeah, if he got it after the season, he'll be ready to go.
Would you draft him, bro? Because he's very intriguing to me, Odell.
Man, I like Odell. Honestly, I really wanted to draft him last year. I actually didn't get him, thankfully. And then if he's healthy, I think he's dynamic. He's still one of the best route runners, most explosive players in the league, right? And so if he's healthy, I think he's definitely worth drafting.
Look, man, last year he's going like 14 overall. And so, we missed out on him just because how snakes work. I did the same. I missed out on him. I was willing to take him like 15, 16. Someone took him 10th overall in one of our leagues. Crazy.
Yeah.
But this year he's going round 4. Sometimes round 3, but sometimes even late round 4. Yeah, it's crazy. I know you probably haven't been looking at ADP too much because your money league's probably going to be drafting way later.
It's early July, man.
Yeah, we've been looking at ADP and we did like 50 mocks. We're ready to go to battle, bro.
Oh, I believe.
Yeah, we're crazy. But Round, I mean, you willing to pay that price, right? Let's say early round 4 in a 12 team
Oh
PPR.
yeah, the risk reward there to me, coming considering how much time he's had to heal and considering what his upside can be, especially now his second year in that system. So I mean that's definitely if he drops a 4, you have to take him. And
Yeah.
I'll slap you if you don't.
Yeah, you're look. He. I've never seen him go round 2 except like in one mock, and that's telling you that's the outlier.
Okay.
Um, People wanted us to talk about Tua. I guess. I mean, do you think he's injury prone, or is that a word you don't want to use with this guy, or what's going on? Because everybody loves him as a prospect, but they're worried about the injuries.
So what the first thing before we get into that, when I look at injury prone, I look at how they got hurt, right? So his ankle injuries, he was rolled up on. Nothing can really do about that. The hip joint, like it's a tough injury. It's probably one of the worst injuries you can have as a football player, just because of the way that he had it. And that can often it can take a while to come back from. I know they graded him out saying he's moving really well and all these things, right? But I believe there are some. He might redshirt this year. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't play him this year and really allow him to acclimate fully.
They're going to definitely. I definitely would bank on it. Redshirt him with the plan
Yep.
on redshirting him the entire year, but they'll definitely redshirt him in the beginning, see how
Yep.
things go, see if the other quarterbacks are healthy, and yeah, it may very well last the whole year. And then if he does redshirt the whole year, you saying that should be plenty of time to recover and be good, or is this one of those injuries that it could be like kind of like a career thing? Or
I mean, if they're saying that if he's having a really good recovery, it takes a while to come back from. But if he does have a good recovery, now there's potential for really long term effects like long term arthritis and stuff, which he almost assuredly will have. But it won't affect him in the short term.
okay, and a few more. I definitely wanted to talk about. Do you think Dalvin Cook is injury prone? Because we talked about him last year, and your answer was in short, what, just a little bit.
I think so. I mean, remind me of his injury history. He had a shoulder injury this
I
past
don't
year,
know.
right?
It's too many because he gets hurt every.
Oh, he's a
He had
lot.
an
Yeah,
ACL a few years ago, came
yeah, that
back,
one.
got hurt, something like a something with the leg, and then he got, yeah, it was a shoulder chest that he
Yeah,
tried to
he's one.
play something like that, or collarbone he tried to play through, and then they sat him for a couple games, maybe 3 games actually.
Yeah, I think with him, I don't know if I call it injury prone, but like I don't know, he's a small running back. He takes a lot of hits, and they use him a lot too, and so I mean you have to expect him to miss games. That's for sure.
Gotcha.
Where's he going right now? Even ADP wise.
Man, some people's bold enough to take him. There's a holdout news. It's hard to hold out with the new CBA, but he is threatening a legit
Uh,
threat to hold out as far as he's saying. And so he's going anywhere from 4 to like 11.
okay.
Oh, he's going
I
all
think
over the place. But round
I mean,
one
he
still.
makes sense. I mean, considering the year that he had last year, I wanted him last year as well. He just made to me, he's always you have to handcuff him. You have to.
Yeah, and so that's the plan. If you draft him, people are getting Alexander Madison.
Yeah.
Here's one guy that I'm really intrigued about because I'm a fantasy nerd, and that's Big Ben. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I sent you his injury history, and it's so long, and he's
It does.
really old. But man, it's obvious how much the Steelers struggled without him. Is there any shot that this guy doesn't get hurt and retires this year? I mean,
Hard
it's a
to, I
scenario.
don't. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like he had a pretty wicked elbow injury. I think he's gonna be fine in that regard. But like, man, like the wear and tear on that guy is I don't even know like how he's still alive. He's crazy. Like he just hit, and he doesn't help himself, right? He holds on to the ball for a long period of time. He's always playing injured. So that's a hard one to
Well,
say.
you guys have basically a Big Ben who eats less cheeseburgers in Philly. Is way more athletic, way more skinnier.
I know.
But that
I feel
man, that his MVP-ish year, he was he was a psycho. I mean,
I
the dude
know, for
literally
real.
tore his ACL right and played another drive, I think, or so. Like,
No, he scored the 2 point conversion in that Rams game.
oh, he ran one more. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah.
That guy was a madman, but he was such a baller, and I think the comparisons are dead on when you say Wentz is a young Big Ben. His Big Ben was winning Super Bowls. He was amazing. He's being talked about, and I think that's Carson Wentz. So, um, yes,
Hopefully he changed his playing style. You just can't hold the ball that long and take that many hits. You just can't.
you got to change stuff up a little bit. I got
Have to.
you. AJ Green. Any shot this guy stays alive another year, or should we just draft T Higgins, Bengals rookie wide receiver?
I think AJ can. Honestly, with his injury, I think he's gonna be pretty productive. To be honest with you, because even before, well, remind me. First off, he was playing with Dalton for a while, right? Obviously, for
His
most
whole
of his
career,
career,
I think,
his whole career before
basically.
this.
Yeah.
And this last year, he was actually looking pretty good. He got rolled up on, I think, in training camp, and then missed the whole season with that ankle injury. And I think it might have been one where he wasn't it where he was like he was trying to play, but then he shut himself down.
It. He never played, but it was
Never
literally
played.
week 1 he might play, week 4 he might play, and then I
Just
don't
never
think he
really.
even played, yeah, at all.
But they also didn't have an incentive to play him. So
Yeah.
that's the other side of the coin, right? Is like, was it the injury that wasn't allowing him to play later on, at least, like in week 4 onwards? Or was it one of those kind of like, okay, you take your time to heal. We'll go out and we'll get the number 1 draft pick.
And there's some guys like Adrian Peterson, Saquon Barkley, some wide receivers, but they just seem like they're just inhuman. They have those Wolverine capabilities, and AJ Green is quite the athlete. I wouldn't put him in maybe those categories like Adrian Peterson necessarily, as the guy
Yep.
came back and almost broke a record after the ACL. But does that factor in at all when you're like, man, this guy's just an athletic freak. He's just so good. Do you think that like gives AJ Green like a little bit higher chance of coming back?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say athletic. For more so for me, what I'm looking at is kind of their training methods, right? Where you have guys when they're putting in consistent time, consistent work, it gives them more of a reservoir and resilience to come back. Like with AP, right? This dude like trains like crazy, and he's like very very committed. So when he gets hurt, he can come back quicker. It's like LeBron in the NBA.
Yeah.
If you have that margin for error, you're gonna come back quicker. The thing about AJ, I don't know what his training methods are, but I just know his injury, and you can come back relatively quickly. Not quickly, but you come back healthy from that. For example, like Odell had a worse injury than him, came back and had a great year the next year, I believe. So
What was that? His rookie year where he missed? It
it,
was a
it,
leg
it
or.
was it's a leg injury, and then he missed a lot of the year. He came back looking pretty good. So, from I think he can. I honestly, I just haven't followed AJ enough. Like I haven't watched him enough to know if he's going downhill from a receiver perspective or not. Like in general.
Okay, and then two. So Debo Samuel, just two more guys really quick, and before we let you go, Debo Samuel,
Okay.
broken foot. They call it Jones fracture. I
Fracture.
think Trent Taylor, his teammate, had the same thing, and I think that's more of a freak thing that happened. He had like a infection and this and that. Do you see any complications? Because I say he's coming back. His time frame to come back will have him miss approximately 0 to 6 regular season games.
Well, that's, did he have an infection after the surgery?
Trent Taylor, I just briefly read over. So his teammate had the
Okay, okay.
Jones fracture, and he just had several complications, and one I think was an infection after the surgery. Yeah,
Okay, okay,
and
okay,
Trent
okay.
Taylor never came back because he's like, hey, Trent Taylor's out 3-4 months. Oh, Trent
Yeah.
Taylor's out the whole year now.
Yeah, I mean, so in fact, when you have those afterwards infections, there's nothing you can do about that, right? There's inherent risk with that. So, but it's not common. It's like I think it's like less than 1 to 3% of surgeries have an infection. The Jones fracture in general is very common. I actually had one on my left foot. I have a screw in my left foot. So Jones fracture, what they'll do, they'll insert a screw to stabilize the bone, and usually it's about 6 to 8 week injury, typically, without any complications without any post-injury impact on the player.
It says Jones
Come back.
fracture can cause all sorts of complications, but it says 12 to 16 week timetable. What's the
Really? For Debo?
Yeah, we sidelined 3 to 4 months. Unless I'm seeing suffered a broken left foot during a workout. Thursday to repair the dreaded Jones fracture.
Okay, he might have something else going on. Typical Jones fracture. If so, Jones fracture, it refers to, there can be some medical terminology. So some people refer to Jones fracture as a different fracture. Like, so for example, the question is, why did it happen? If it's like a stress Jones fracture because he's walking in a certain way, like he's putting repetitive stress on it, that might take longer to heal than like if it was like a contact injury.
Got
So
you.
it might, so part of it might be why he got there in the first place.
These doctors are
I,
just reporting on it, but there's probably more medical
yeah,
stuff.
because
And like you said,
there has to
so
be.
every now and then we get a lot of like complete news, but yeah, and most of the time we get like, I'm cool or it's good, he's good. Like the Rams, like we don't know what's really going on. Uh,
Yeah, like for example, like if someone said Jones fracture and I heard like 3 to 4 months, I'd be like, yeah, that's not your typical Jones fracture.
Gosh, well, man, that's a little bit scary there. So I hope I'm a Niner fan, so I hope he's okay, and a Debo fan, so
I know I do too. I'm not like the Niners.
hope he's good. All right, last one, and then we'll let you go. Cam Newton signed with the Patriots. I've been a Cam hater for several years. I've gone on record for it, but I've been right. You know, I've warned a lot of people about the injuries, about him as a leader. Don't draft this guy. Don't trust him. I've been right. I'm completely throwing it all away right now. I don't even know if he's going to start. I mean, I'd say 99% chance he's going to start. I'm fairly confident. You don't
Me
know
too.
what's up with Bill and the Patriots. I'm just going out on a limb, and I'm willing to throw that all away. We saw Jacoby Brissett play with the Patriots and whoop the Texans, and Brissett was a third, like he was a legit third stringer. He was just thrown into the
Hmm.
fire, and he did good. So I know they're smart. I know they can draw plays for Cam, and I know they can work with his strengths. Like do you think this guy can last at least one season? What are your thoughts with him on the Pats?
I think so. So the question with him, of course, the injury history, right? I thought going into early last year, even before the Liz Frank injury, he was rusty, right? Because he didn't have a chance to throw for a while because he had that rotator cuff surgery or labrum. It was labrum surgery on his shoulder, and so he was really rusty. He was still finding his rhythm. Just as he was starting to find it, he had that Liz Frank injury, and so he hasn't really played football in a while, right? It's been a minute since he, because Liz Frank was a long, extended recovery process as well. But to your point, if anyone can protect him and play to his strengths and optimize his strengths, man, it's the Patriots. And so he's one of those to me. And I mean, he could be a buy low. I think he's a high risk, high reward player.
Yeah, and it's just funny how people are like automatically putting him as a QB1 and this and that. I'm not that sold on him yet because of the
Yeah,
risk, but like we did just draft. By the way, we're in this league where my followers draft and we have like a war room. That's why I keep saying we draft, and
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
huge league, a throne league, and so we like right when the news came out, we just drafted N'Keal Harry in round 11 just because of the upside. Like if Funches
yeah.
can do it and Kelvin Benjamin can do it, I think N'Keal Harry and Cam's definitely got a shot.
I agree. I mean, the skill sets align, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, dude, and I didn't see this signing happening at all. I was like, no way, they're gonna sign him, and they got this man for free, and they signed him. Uh,
I mean, yeah,
it's
it's a great deal.
it's great, man. Good luck to you in fantasy this year, man. You're gonna be in a money league again.
Yeah, every year we're in a. I think I'm in a $500 money league, 16 team. So
That's intense as hell.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
really intense. It's a lot of money and a lot of teams, and so the pot. It's hard to win that. 1 out of 16 chance to win it, but the pot is
it's fine.
huge. What's the chance we're gonna have a season this year?
Whew,
Tough question, I know.
with or without fans.
With or without what?
With fans, I think it's
Uh,
pretty low.
man, I'm hoping no fans at all. Because anything to increase the chances
Yeah,
of a season. So I don't. I'm
yeah.
just saying, like, what are your thoughts?
Oh,
If
in
are we gonna
general,
have a season or what?
I think they will have a season, but I don't see anywhere there's going to be fans in the stadium. I
I
just don't
don't
see
care
it.
about fans.
I don't
I
care
need
either.
my
I don't care
season.
either. I agree. I agree. I don't care either. I don't care either. I don't really care much for it either. I prefer just to have the sport going on,
Yeah.
right? And so, man, I mean, the good thing about the NFL, they have the NBA, they have the MLB, they have the MLS, they even have the like soccer in Europe as test cases, so they can use that to help them see what works, what doesn't work, right?
Yeah, definitely proof of
So,
concept is out
yeah,
there.
yeah,
What I mean, that's probably yeah, test case is probably a better word. But yeah, like just make it happen. Don't be too stupid about it. Be smart about it. And so yeah, week 1 of preseason's canceled. Week 4 preseason's canceled, which was kind of it kind of dropped a little bit of a bomb on us. But we saw that that type of stuff could happen. So I just hope that it stops here and we do have a season. By the way, guys, go follow my man Dr. Raj at 3CB Performance. You see it right there scrolling. Links below in the description. He's got a YouTube, and his Instagram and his Twitter handle is the same. Those links are below in the description. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the podcast. Subscribe to our main YouTube channel. Hit this with a thumbs up. Man, Dr. Raj, thank you so much for hopping on the show. We enjoyed it.
yeah, absolutely, man. Appreciate being here.
All right, bud. Peace out.